didn't necessarily help. But I think it's important for these players and the coaches to realize what's in front of them. Yeah, it's been a tough start, but you still have such an opportunity to turn things around, and I think it's got to start with discipline and pride, and for where you're at, what's come before you here, and really to be able to play that way, to play with that heart, and I think that's important.
What were your expectations for Tennessee going into the season?
I didn't necessarily have them as a contender in the East. I thought they were going to be slightly improved. I still feel like there's just something missing there, and but I also feel like Coach Pruitt's a good football coach. When I first went against him, he was the D coordinator at Hoover my senior year in high school. So it's been, he's had quite the journey to get to where he is. But I just feel like something's got to happen in the program. It's a buy-in. It's getting the right guys, his guys. The little things. It's amazing how quickly you got a few wins under your belt. In the Georgia State game, a few things went wrong. In the BYU, you had them beat, and it was a play that can honestly that just can't happen. And just little things like that. All of a sudden, okay, now you're 2-0. Things look a lot differently. Now you're playing with momentum. You got 17, 18, 19-year-olds that changes so much of a season for them. So, buddy, how you doing?
Life was good?
Yes, sir. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So that could have changed so much to start, and now you get more buy-in, more belief. Could change a lot of things. Some kids don't transfer.
Aaron Taylor's gone through a lot of struggles this season, and last year when we talked, we had a chance to be a great quarterback in the league. What would your advice be to him now that he's gone through a little bit of struggles?
Well, when adversity hits, you got to be tough, mentally tough, emotionally. You hear a lot of people talking about you on TV and where the program's at, and so you got to really dig deep and figure out your way of being able to cope. Whether that's blocking out all the noise and going to work, whether it's using it as a chip on your shoulder, there's so many different approaches, but he's going to have to figure out what works for him.
From watching him play this year, what do you think has gone into his struggle this season?
It's not just on him. That's not fair. It's on so many things. It's on, offensive line at times, the plays, receivers not helping him out, the running game, everything. It all goes hand in hand. Sometimes, trying to force it in there a little bit too much and throwing it really hard on some short passes, and you get it, in Gainesville, if that drive's able to score and you're able to tie the game, things could be so differently. But those big crucial moments, that's where Tennessee's been faltering, and that's where I feel like a lot is lost right now.
Before the season, Jeremy Pruitt said he felt that he had one of the best staffs in the country. When you look at it, from point A to point Z, would you agree with that assessment? How would you put it?
Well, he's had a lot of coaches that have had success in their past and have been really good at times, and I've seen some of his coaches be very impressive in games. So seeing them sometimes, especially this year, not been as impressive. So I think it's hard to just say where their coaching staff is. I think they have a chance to be a good coaching staff, but where the team is execution-wise right now isn't where they need to be.
And we've heard all the fans have been calling around here for Philip Fulmer to step in and coach the team. Did you laugh when you heard that? What did you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of fans that are going to say a lot of things, and that's why it's important to really think through it, think through the entire process from A to Z. But I also think Jeremy Pruitt is a good football coach, and this is a new opportunity, new learning curve for him. Where it's going to take a little bit. He's got to figure out, but I think being able to understand the whole picture, see the whole picture going forward is key too.
Tim, you've kind of become known for some of your impassioned speeches, and while I doubt Jeremy Pruitt is inviting a Gator into his locker room for pregame, if he were and you were to give a message to the team, what would that message be?
Well, I gave one a couple years ago on Sports Center when they were getting ready for Alabama, and that didn't do them any good that day. So I don't know if it would help if I gave them a speech. I think more right now it's about them giving themselves speeches and believing in themselves and why they're here and their talent and their ability and taking ownership of it and having the pride in it as well. But I honestly think that starts in the locker room, and it starts with a lot of those guys too, even more so than even what Jeremy says to them, what they're saying to themselves and the leaders are doing. Because eventually you got to kind of say, all right, enough's enough, we got to figure this thing out.
How hard as a player is it to do that? To kind of look yourself in the mirror and really have that like coming to fruition moment?
It's hard enough. I think you just push people to that place where, they're embarrassed by it and they're disgusted, so they want to create change and they want to buy in and they want to get better, and then it's about finding the right way to be able to do that, and I think those would be a good places to start.
Tim, give us your assessment of Georgia at this point.
I think Georgia is extremely talented. I think that's it. A little bit of a sigh of relief for them how well their receivers have played, because two of them have transferred in. Lawrence Cager is a big old body dude that could be a big X factor for Georgia in their bigger games here in the future. I like Robertson, I like a lot of those guys, but then they got to be able to stretch that field to open it up more for DeAndre Swift. I thought against Georgia, I thought they were playing not to lose rather than playing to win. Notre Dame, and that's where I would like to see them. But also for James Coley, it's just his really biggest time as the OC and hasn't OC'd a lot of games. So I think he'll continue to learn how he calls it and how he connects with Jake and how they can continue to open it up. Because when they did, Jake was fantastic and he went right down the field. And then it was like, okay, we're going to get back into like, okay, let's turn it around. And Notre Dame stacked the box. They had 7, 8 in the box the whole time, daring Georgia to go win it. And they didn't. They won it because their defense played fantastic. And that's where I would say Jake can handle that. Jake can handle those big moments. And I would like to see them let him put on a back brace and try to go carry it a little bit,
How much of that is Jake just trusting the receivers, Tim, on those fades when it's man and he's just kind of got to throw the ball up there when you
It's trusting it, but it's also timing, and it's knowing exactly where he's going to be. And if he's playing me this way, then it's all automatically going to be a back shoulder. If he's behind me, it's automatically going to be over the top. But also, that's the receivers coming up big too. So you got to give kind of both of them credit too.
How do you kind of assess where this game is? What does Tennessee do to keep it close, or is it just, I guess, a team with no weaknesses is going to be pretty
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of how Notre Dame played. I think stack the box, force Georgia to win on the outside. Maybe they missed a few, maybe a few were incomplete. Find a way to get a turnover, hit a few plays, and then that's the thing. It's still a rivalry game, so that changes things a little bit. And then if Tennessee can be able to find the big play with their receivers, they still have really talented receivers that have shown it in big games to be able to come up with big plays, and I think that's key. I just don't think they're gonna consistently move the ball for 60 minutes on Georgia. I don't think they're gonna consistently be able to outplay Georgia. So I think it's gonna come down to creating negative plays and defensively, finding a way to get a turnover, and then being able to capitalize on that and score touchdowns.
Hey Tim, we're just getting in on this. I'm so sorry. But you got a team that lost to Georgia State, 1-3. If you're a Tennessee player, part of this program, how do you get your mind right to play the number 3 team in the country?
Well, I think it's really hard to be able to handle all of the negativity that's been surrounding it, but I think that playing Georgia actually helps because it's such a big game and there's so much, and if you win it, so you can turn so much of the perception. So I think having a big opportunity and being at home, I think that could help him a little bit.
Quarterback Jared Garantano, redshirt junior. A lot of folks expect him to be a little further along than he is right now. What does that young man need to do to get to the next level?
I think first of all, block out all the noise because there's a lot of it right now. Be able to try to be a leader, get everyone on the same page, and honestly, he's got to handle a lot from them not naming the starter to just the fans being at home. That doesn't necessarily make it easier if your own fans aren't necessarily supportive. So he's not in an easy position, but it's got to start with mental toughness for him.
Finally, Tim, Coach Barnes was talking about the fair pay to play act passed in California yesterday. Not necessarily against it, but one thing I thought an interesting point he brought up. What about the non-revenue sports and those kids, the ones that don't really get all the limelight and the headlines? What about them? What's your take on all this?
Well, I've had a few of them. I think, for me, if it was for a Tennessee player, they could go and they could get an endorsement by a local business or something here and make $15,000, $20,000 to be able to take care of themselves and their family, I would be all for it. That is never something I've been against, but I think why I've said it's a slippery slope is because when you start that, where does that stop? And I think that's where a committee or group of people have to come together to figure out, because I think most of us here would probably agree that people would kind of go to the nth degree to win in college football. And so if you can start paying players now, then it goes from college to high school, and then there's agents in high school. Do we want that in our high schools? And so I think it's a fine balance. I totally see the other side, because this is you want to be able to support these student athletes who are working extremely hard, full-time job, more than a full-time job, and they are bringing in, some of them, a lot of revenue. But then you also got to understand, at a place like this football program pays for a lot of the other sports. So if they're not going to be able to bring in as much in football, are they going to lose other sports? And is that going to be a side effect that happens? And I guess no one can kind of fully answer that. I know at the University of Florida there's 21 sports, and basketball pays for itself, and football pays for 19 others. And so what's interesting, is that going to hurt their budget? And there's just so many things to take into account. But I'm really, intrigued to see what's going to happen. But I think for me, the two goals in all of this would be able to support the student athlete in every way possible. With schoolwork, with being a student athlete first, financially to a certain extent, and then be able to continue to have a great game, a game that is built on teamwork, on university first, on love and passion and tradition for the sport. And I think it's to try to keep both of those things, and that's what I would love to see done.
I gotta go. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Gotta go.